Well, actually, I spent 31 years. So my first day of sunshine, it was glorious.
More than 3 decades behind bars for a crime he didn't do, locking up the not guilty, on this episode of Blackland.
And now,
as a brown person, you just feel so invisible.
Where we're from.
Brothers and sisters, I welcome you to this joyful day.
We celebrate freedom. Where we are.
Get on the ground!
I know someone heard something.
And where we're going.
We the people means all the people.
The Black Information Network presents Blackland with your host, Vanessa Tyler.
When the prison door slams shut and you're on the inside behind bars. A cynic may say everybody behind bars says they're innocent, but some really are, making the time they're serving the hardest time of all. Rickey Godfrey had to spend 31 years behind bars trying to convince people he's innocent. Finally, the doors are open. He's out.
First of all, how are you? Have you adjusted to being on the outside?
Well, mentally right now, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm still adjusting, to be here and to know, what happened to me and that type of injustice still looms over me. It's a bit of a pill to swallow. I'm still kind of like, trying to adjust to that part of my life here. But at the same time, I am happy to be free. I am happy to be here with my family, with my wife, with my kids, with my grandchildren, with my mom, and some of those friends that, I've met over the years. So,
all those people you mentioned, while you were doing time, they were doing time too. These are people, your children, grandchildren you mentioned, they had to grow up without you.
Absolutely. And that's the sad part about it, the sickening part about it, to steal me away from that, to not be able to enjoy that growth and things like that, and to have them endure, sort of what I endured. And that is to have to deal with the prison situation, the system per se. So yes, they absolutely did do that time with me, and they had to be made to endure that. And that is just a tragedy.
You spent 30 years in a California prison. Tell me about your first day of feeling the sunshine of freedom.
Well, actually, I spent 31 years. So my first day of sunshine, it was glorious. I had the opportunity to go to a beach, my wife and I. It just was, I just relished in the moment, to breathe, the fresh air, that wasn't stale, so to speak, to put my feet in the sand, to touch the water, and just to, enjoy the atmosphere altogether. It was an amazing feeling.
When you were convicted, you were a kid, 18, prison basically raised you. How was that?
It was a struggle, because I didn't conform. And, sometimes I would get in trouble. Some people go in there and they say that, well, I'm innocent, so I'm going to do everything right. No, mine was a rebellious type of attitude because I didn't belong there. So I wasn't going to listen to what, I was told to do. Let me home to my family. And then I'll be, what I do the things that I'm supposed to do. But other than that, no. But after a while, I realized that I had to really adjust my thinking. I had to adjust my attitude. Was it easy? No. And it wasn't easy all the way to the time I left out of that place.
Did you do that? Did you adjust yourself, like you said? And I know you said you had to settle in. You lost a little bit of the rebellion.
I adjusted slightly. I adjusted slightly to the point where I wasn't catching, the write-ups. I didn't do anything violent or anything like that, to get myself into, a deeper situation, because I knew that if I did that, and once this conviction, was set aside and vacated, that thing would loom over me. So I didn't go that far. However, I did small infractions and stuff like that. But after a while, I realized that it did me more harm than good because, again, I was in their world, so they had the key, they had the control, so I had to sort of conform to that. And
Yeah.
eventually, that's what I did to settle. And I didn't want to drag my family, through that, to not receive visits, to not, utilize the telephone and things like that. So I gave in. I gave in to that.
Wow.
But it wasn't because I was guilty. It still remained the fact that I was innocent. But for the sake of my family and me just not want to cause harm to myself.
Some details about the case. Every parent tells their kids, choose your friends wisely. They can get you in trouble. Yours
Yes.
did. Take us back to 1992.
Drug shit. I got caught up in that. Not the usage of it, but the selling of it. I became infatuated with, the community who I would call our role models, so to speak, who committed crime, who sold drugs, who, looked at fancy, dressed fancy, had fancy cars, jewelry and all that thing. So this is what I aspire to be and do, So on this particular day of 92, me and a group of individuals riding around in a car, and we were selling drugs. We weren't looking for any trouble or anything like that. We wasn't set out to go find someone to do anything to. We just, like I say, we're just there to make money. So as we were traveling, we encountered a van, which is the victim's van. And I'm going to put a name to him. His name is Harvey Norfleet. And I didn't know this person. I had never saw this person. I have never had any encounter with this person. Apparently, the occupants in the vehicle that I was traveling in knew this individual. So they flagged him down, got out the vehicle eventually. And as they got out the vehicle, I sat in the back seat on the right side passenger, and in the back seat on the right side passenger, and I was rolling some marijuana that we were smoking. So as I'm rolling the marijuana, I hear what appeared to be a gunshot. Where I come from, growing up the way that I grew up, we're taught that when you hear gunshots or anything that's remotely similar to that, you duck, you get out of Dodge, you protect yourself. And that's what I did. I dug down in the seat. As I dug down in the seat, momentarily later, the occupants of my vehicle jumped back in the vehicle, and we left the area. As we was leaving the area, one of the witnesses who recanted began to ask the person that was driving, what did you do that for? At that moment, that's when I realized that he had shot a gun and that he had shot someone. I didn't see him shoot anyone. I didn't know that he had shot anyone until this person began to ask him, what did he do that for? So I asked to be dropped off at my car, which they did. They dropped me off at my car prior to the actual person saying, hey, don't talk about this. If you talk about this, it will be consequences. So I left my car, left away from that area where my car was parked, went home.
That was hardly the end of it, but the beginning of 31 years of Rickey Godfrey's life.
3 days later, I was informed that the police was looking for me to talk to me about a homicide that had occurred. Once I spoke with them, they arrested me, and I never saw the streets again. And that was the crime happened July 13th. I was arrested July 16th, and I never saw the streets again until April the 21st, 2023.
Did the criminal justice system fail you? Did you have a good lawyer?
The criminal justice system failed me 100%. I did not have a decent attorney. In fact, the attorney that they gave me worked out of the Contra Costa County Public Defender's Office. She had never fought a capital punishment case prior to this case being handed over to her. So her experience was, she didn't have experience.
So they offered a deal, 25 to life. To Godfrey, that was an offer he could refuse, and did.
So once I didn't take the 25-year deal to life that was being presented to me by the district attorney's office, they decided to file it as a capital punishment case.
Which means the jury that would find him guilty could also put him to death.
Be seated.
I understand that there is a verdict. You may bring the jury.
Wow. In other words, you could have been dead right now had they been able to expedite the death penalty phase.
Yes, that's the painful part of it. Like, and I sit and I think, like, I could not have been here, if those jury, which, by the way, was 11 white men and one Filipino lady that judged over my life, if they had decided that, I should get the death penalty, I would not have been here. Instead,
but they're trying to say that you actually pulled the trigger or that you were just there when the trigger was pulled.
No, these individuals concocted a story and told the police, the authority, that I committed this crime. And so that's how I end up going to trial. But one of the witnesses came forward during trial and got on the stand and testified that the police coerced him, forced him to say that I committed this crime. That's on record. That's in trial record. And they asked him, like, who is the officer? And he told them. They told me if I didn't say that Rickey Godfrey committed this crime, that I would be charged with it. I never been in no situation like this before. So I said what I thought they wanted to hear. And I blamed him. Yes, so that's a record. That was the first recantation, 1992 and 3. And then later on, 2006, and then again in 2010, the second witness recanted and said that he was pressured by the police.
Godfrey says the person who could hold the key to his freedom was threatened with jail himself. It looked like his life would remain in a California prison. In part 2, hear how Rickey Godfrey got out and how others are also leaving prison behind. A walk to freedom that took him 31 long, agonizing years. I'm Vanessa Tyler. Join me next time on Blackland.